All right, welcome back. This is Dee Watts of Strike Seven Network, and today we're going to do a reaction video to an article put out by comicbook.com writer Liz Declan, and kind of piqued my interest when I saw it the other day on the internet. I was on Google on my phone, and I kind of was scrolling up and down, and I saw the this article title. I just kind of intrigued my mind, and the title of it is, I'll say it, Daredevil Born Again Season 3 badly needs to move on from Kingpin. And listen, when I first saw the headline, I kind of, like I said, I stopped scrolling immediately because that is a take, and that is a real, genuine, put out there, and that people to disagree take. And how I do things, and people engage with stuff like that. So before we go ahead and get into it, if you're new here, welcome to Strike Seven Network. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and drop a comment right now, telling me where you stand on the Kingpin's future in Born Again. But are you tired of him, or do you want more? So the article, opens by doing something smart, not dismissive of Kingpin at all. The writer acknowledges up front that Wilson Fisk is a brilliant Marvel villain, a fan favorite for a reason, and I think that is the right way to frame this conversation. Because if you come out swinging saying Kingpin is overrated or boring, you'll lose credibility as a comic book writer ASAP. Nobody who has watched Vincent D'Onofrio in this role is going to sit still for a moment. He did a really good job playing that role anyway. He does a good job playing these different personalities overall. Because the article points out that Fisk is uniquely, dangerous because he does not have terrifying brute strength. He weaponizes the city itself through political power. And that is a great observation. That is actually what made Kingpin such a layered villain compared to most. A lot of, Marvel bad guys want to destroy the world or conquer it. Fisk just wants to own the city, block by block, institution by institution, and he's patient to actually do it. He'll do it by politics, mixed in with his forces, the people he got. He knows how to get in bed with who he needs to get in bed with to get it done. And who to root out if he has to in his camp. Now here's where the article starts making this real argument. It says that carrying the Matt versus Fisk arc from Netflix into Born Again made sense for continuity. And season one justified Fisk's return by giving him genuinely a new angle as a mayor and as the architect of the AVTF, the Anti-Vigilante Task Force. Um, that was a fresh enough idea to carry a season, just the one season. But the article is not arguing that Fish should have been gone already. It is arguing that the window is closing, and season three is where it fully closes if they're not careful. So, and honestly, I have to sit with that for a second because there is something to that, in my opinion. There is, the overdue argument about it. Do I buy it? To a certain extent, man. To a certain extent, I buy it. I buy that argument of um, Kingpin being Daredevil's um, main antagonist, central, whatever you want to call it, central antagonist throughout this series. I buy it to a certain extent. But the article is not saying the character, the person that plays Kingpin is the problem. He's saying that the structure is the problem. The cat and mouse dynamic is the problem between Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk has now played out across 3 Netflix seasons and 2 Born Again seasons. So that's 5 seasons of the same fundamental conflict between the two characters, main characters. And no matter how good the performances are, no matter how well written the individual moments are, there is a ceiling on how many times you can return to the same well before the audience starts to feel it. The article makes a point that I think is the sharpest in the whole piece, and it's about Vanessa Fisk. Her death this season removed one of the most fascinating and nuanced dimensions of Kingpin's character. His love for Vanessa, was not just a soft spot. It was a thing that made him human. That made his villain feel genuinely tragic rather than just cartoonish. With her gone, the article is essentially saying what is left of his story that we have not already seen, and that is a fair question. It is, you know. So now let's talk about the alternatives. Like this, what was said in bold right here. There are better options for a season 3 arc. Uh, First up, it brings up the potential for Heather Glenn to become Lady Muse. Now, if you have been following the season closely, based on what we saw in the season finale, you know there have been some hidden details pointing in this direction, and the article flags this as one of the more intriguing villain setups in Born Again for season 3. A brand new villain with a new kind of threat profile would do a lot to freshen up the show's energy. Now, in regards to Muse, Lady Muse, Heather Glenn, Dr. Ellen Glenn, she could be a part of, I think she is going to be a part of the season, but I don't think she could be the villain, the main villain for an entire, 8 or 10 episodes that they do. I don't think she could carry it that long. She can be a part of it just like the Muse character was, but not the whole thing. I just don't see it. It don't feel right. Then there's the Bullseye. The article, it mentions Bullseye. Because he, in the MCU, has been handled in a way that is a little different from the comics, but there is clearly a long game being played with the character. If season 3 leans into Bullseye as a primary antagonist, there's a fight I want to see develop fully. Yeah, I mean, can Bullseye do it compared to Lady Muse? Yeah, man, but they more, to me, Lady Muse and Bullseye to me are like villains that are like a part of somebody else's team. Like if they had to work with Fisk, I could see it. But we all know how Bullseye feels about Fisk after what he did in the Netflix when Daredevil was on Netflix. Now that's something they carried that from Netflix. Wilson Fisk having uh, Bullseye's lover killed. That's been carried on from they carried that on from Netflix. You know, there could be some other options. There could be some other routes they take with this, man. But I do agree with this the overall message of this article, though. Because people can get worn out fast, and people have these short attention spans, and it's only a matter of time before more critics start to point this out and notice how they drag this stuff out. And they've been doing this. Not the only stream series that does that. A lot of them do that, where they tend to drag conflicts out. They just do. And I do agree. And I know the comic books have a lot to do with this, because in the comic books, Fisk is like a primary antagonist for Daredevil. But man, you could change it up some of it. You can change it up a little bit because there's way more villains in the Marvel universe that it could throw into that slot and go up against Daredevil. It just are, But we'll see how it all play out. And the way it's looking, Wilson Fisk will be back in season 3. I don't know. That's the end game for him. It'll be his final year, but his final season. But we'll see how it all play out. Daredevil is in jail, but we know he's gonna get out of jail. Fisk is no longer the mayor; he's in exile right now. But we know he gonna emerge back into the scene, to the main scene once again. So we'll see. And also, Heather Glenn will be Lady Muse. So same, storylines, same talking points will be going down in the next season. So that's all I have for y'all for right now, man. I agree with the overall message of the article. Let me know how you feel in the comment section below. Do you think the writer has a point? I'll put the link to the article in the description box below. Have a blessed day. Peace. I'm out. Oh, and also check out the Strike 7 Network Patreon page. Sign up to one of our tiers. Well, we have a $5 tier that gives you access to all our stories that we have running right now in the Strike 7 Network universe. That's Bayou Blood and the Black Ghost. I'm out.